Treaty 6 was a treaty signed between First Nations and the Canadian government on August 23rd in 1876. It was signed on the plains of Fort Carlton on August 23rd and at Fort Pitt on September 9th, 1876. There are over 50 First Nations groups involved in Treaty 6, most of them coming from Saskatchewan and southern Alberta. A chief by the name of Ahakantakub and Mistawasis were involved in the treaty signing. They came along with their followers. The government had made previous provisions to the First Nations people, including the land being reserved and protected from the white settlers. These lands could not be taken over or sold by the government, but only with consent from First Nations. The Honourable Alexander Morris was the main treaty commissioner for all the treaties signed in Saskatchewan. He was commissioner for Treaties 3, 4, 5, and 6 and helped negotiate Treaties 1 and 2. The government had promised open schools for Indian children under the restriction of alcohol and reserves, as well as the terms of the treaty to be followed through. The First Nations groups of Treaty 6 were also promised that the treaties must be respected and honored as made sacred by traditional Indian laws and ceremonies. Treaties must evolve for as long as the sun shines, rivers flow, and the grass grows. Every family of 5 was to be covered by Treaty 6 and 11.5 kilometers square of land per person. They were promised $5 annually as well as money for ammo and fishing nets. Chiefs were to be given $25 a year, a horse and a wagon and a couple of carts. When the Crown and the First Nations signed the treaty, they agreed to exchange things and to keep their promises to one another. The coin represented the promises made between the two groups. The buffalo was hunted and killed by First Nations for centuries in order to survive. They used all parts of buffalo for various uses. The meat was used for foods, hides were used for clothing and blankets, and bones were used for making hoes, shovels, and knives. This photo represents the First Nations fighting back for their rights that they were promised but never received. There are many promises made between Treaty 6 that were not fulfilled by the government, such as the amount of land given, money promised for farming, and tool supplies, as well as the building of houses and the being free of third parties on reserves and lands. Although the treaties were signed over 100 years ago, First Nations today are still fighting for the promises made by the Crown to the First Nations during the signing of the treaties.